Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber.
Tom Green.
I don't know if we can skip past Hans Gruber yet. You remember Hans Gruber?
I don't.
From Die Hard?
No.
What?
Which one? Which character was that? I don't remember. Look, hold on a second. We've been on a podcast together for 4 years, and you're going to tell me that you think that I suddenly remember random characters' names in movies?
But you got to know him.
I probably know which guy he is, but I don't remember what his name was.
From Die Hard, the bad guy.
Which one? There's freaking 5,000.
Bad guy, dude.
No, Die Hard. Not Die Hard with a Vengeance. Not all. Die Hard. Uno.
Right.
In Die Hard, he was
so the bad guy from the first Die Hard movie was Hans Gruber. Okay.
Yes.
But anyway, tonight we have a very special guest with us. With us tonight is Darlene McDonald. She is a candidate for United States Congress in Utah 4, running against Haas's favorite congressman, Burgess Owens.
Only Burgess I recognize is Burgess Meredith.
You know who Burgess Owens is because he played in the NFL, so I guarantee you know who he is.
I thought you said
not necessarily true. Burgess Meredith played in the NFL.
No, Burgess Owens played for the Raiders, I think.
When?
A while ago, because he's old. So he won a Super. I think he's a Super Bowl champion. But anyway, Burgess Owens is who Darlene is running against. So Darlene, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Darlene.
Hey, girl.
Yeah.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Welcome into the show.
Wait a minute. Can I say something first?
No.
I'm a national shot put champion. Does that count?
Oh, shot put?
Yes.
I'll use one of them infielders. One of them infield
in the infield.
Them infielders, they do all the crazy stuff.
I was strictly on the track. Well, shoot, we got an athletic star and burgeoning political celebrity.
What's your furthest throw?
It was like a long time ago, and that record has been beat a long time.
But I just want to know what it is, so I can kind of gauge whether you was just like on the team, wearing a jersey, or you
said she was a champ.
I'm not even going to go there because what the girls are throwing now, no comparison whatsoever. No.
Well, that's every sport.
Yeah,
I know, right? Because like back in the day, and did you know that this player has a 25-inch vertical jump? It's like
the world's in 1880 the 1888 Olympics. Joe Blow ran the 100 meters in a world record time of
7 minutes.
This game is called 4 Down Territory. We will ask you 4 questions. You will give us 4 answers, and I have to warn you: you will not be asked more important questions relevant to your campaign. Your candidacy literally is hanging in the balance with these questions. They are of
a knife's edge.
Absolutely. The people of Utah are waiting with bated breath right now. And my first question for you is this. And that's the okay. So now there's music coming in the background here. So I like this. Well done, Mikey. I thought it was my phone ringing for a second there. This is a new thing. So, Darlene, again, your candidacy in big trouble here. So, I was in the kitchen earlier today. So, my first question is this. This is anecdotal, and I need your help. As a candidate, will you support legislation that will make those range burner metal covers?
Oh my goodness.
Those metal covers. We need those to not cost as much as an entirely new damn range. And can you put together some legislation that will make range covers, You know what I'm talking about? Those little plates that
Yeah,
you put on,
yeah,
and they get so
yeah.
dirty. We need a solution for this. Can you innovate that?
What?
I don't want to get in the way of private enterprise.
Good answer.
Okay, Rand Paul.
She just hit you with a spin move. That's what that was. You tried. She said, nope. And Dutch, I'm surprised that you don't already know the answer to that. Have you never been to any like traditional Mexican family? They coat the entire stove in foil. As soon as they come out the box, it's getting coated in foil.
And the black cribs too. That's what you do.
I remember that, actually. I do remember having foil wrapped around that as a kid in somebody's house. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That way, bruh, you ain't never, ever losing them grates. Them grates ain't getting touched. No dirt will ever see those grates.
Do you know? Do you
that
know
was
the
foil on the grate was the plastic on the couch in the living room. You couldn't go.
They couldn't put
and
plastic
the
on the
carpet
stove.
runners. The plastic carpet runners
would
have had the only part of the carpet that looked new was under the fucking runner. Everything else was pinched out.
Aye. All right. You haven't gotten my vote yet, but Haas, you can save yourself maybe. Big Haas.
All right. So you're a champion shot put, right?
Yes.
If what other event would you have wanted to participate in track and field, but your talents didn't line up with your desires and ambitions?
Tennis.
Nice.
Actually, it wasn't so much of my talent. It was it was competing time.
They were both in the same season?
Both
that sucks. Yeah, I know that.
So I had to choose where my talent was, which was track and field, shot put, discus.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Darlene, I don't want you to like lose. Oh wait, music for dramatic effect. I don't want you to lose your race for this answer, but you said you're from Ohio. Which city has the best chili in the country?
Oh, come on. That's an easy one. Cincinnati, of course.
And do you do the whole spaghetti abomination? Explain for people who don't know chili.
Oh, my. Did you just say abomination?
You know it is. Just because you love it.
Forgive him.
Chili now.
Look. Just because you love it doesn't mean it's not a monster.
What do you mean? It's good.
It's a monster. You know it is.
You have
everybody
your finely grated cheese, and then you have your onions, and then you have your mustard. Perfect.
See, hold on. So what? So the like 5-way chili. Like what is a 5-way?
You have your spaghetti.
First of all, there's spaghetti in this chili.
Wait. Is it spaghetti noodles or spaghetti with the sauce?
Spaghetti noodles.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you put the spaghetti, then you put the chili sauce on top of the spaghetti.
All right.
Then you put cheese on it. Then
all right. So far, I'm in.
Then you put onions, and sometimes you can get the beans. You can get beans too. Not everybody likes the beans, but you can get the beans too. You put the beans, and then you have your chili.
I'd go
that mustard.
I'd go sans beans.
That's for the coney. That's for the cheese coney. Yes, because you can get the hot dog, the cheese coney, you put the mustard, you put the cheese on it, you put the chili on it, you put the onions on it, you put the mustard on it, and it's
let me stop you right now, right here. First of all, I'm from St. Louis. I'm not even from Chicago. These two knuckleheads above me are from Chicago. You have lost all of your Illinois votes. We were going to drive over there and vote illegally for you. You can forget it. Mustard only on a dog?
Yes.
I'm a transplanted here and I'm offended.
Do not make the mistake to put ketchup on it. No.
Have you had a Chicago dog?
No. Yes.
So you
And
see
they're
where
good.
where we're coming
Well,
from.
isn't it?
She's right though. No ketchup, just mustard is acceptable in
Just mustard.
Chicago. So I approve of her answer.
It's yellow mustard, ain't it?
Yes.
See, Dutch.
That's what
she's
they
hot.
use. That's what they don't
No.
know. Very few people use brown mustard on hot dogs in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's
But-
generally French's mustard or Plotchman's.
Plotchman's, yeah.
Yeah, Plotchman's is like, I don't know if Plotchman's is a national brand. I don't see it out here
I think that's just
in
us.
California, but Plotchman's is by far the
Just
best
for
mustard.
special people.
Yes.
They do have that in Ohio, and we use that for our, like the Mets. Y'all know what Mets are, right?
The baseball team?
Yeah.
No.
The insurance company?
It's like a brat. It's like a brat, but we call it a Met, and it's METT. METT in Ohio, Queen City Mets. METT. Yes.
Oh my
So instead of
goodness,
saying
that's
brats,
saying
you call it a Met.
Put mustard on that, and it's and brown mustard on that. But you can put sauerkraut on it as well. It's fabulous.
That's probably, girl, that sounds good.
Girl,
That sounds good.
That spell meat. Y'all eating meat sandwiches over there talking about they're called Mets. That say meat on that package.
Well, they just because they mispronounce meat, don't get mad at them. They're from Cincinnati. Okay.
Google or go Queen City Mets. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, DuckDuckGo. Only conservatives are allowed on there.
Right.
All right. So, all right.
Ooh.
Let me. This. Okay. Let's do this. So, you are in the zombie apocalypse. All right. So Anna asked this question last week. I want to put it slightly.
Oh, we're
different
back
spin
to
on
the
it.
questions. Thanks for
Yes. So, yes, here we go. The music is playing.
Oh.
So we have a zombie apocalypse. You are in your house. What do? Do you make the choice to stay home and barricade yourself, or do you get the hell out and try to join the mobs of people running down the street and escape? What choice do you make?
Hopefully, I was already dead.
You don't have that luxury here.
He
You
says- Said, write me out the story. I'm out of here.
Like, who wants to live through a zombie apocalypse? I'm like, why?
Wait, what? Hold on a second, though. A serious question here. What evidence do you have that we aren't actually in one right now? Because things have been pretty insane.
Good point. I am eating like meat and everything. So
Queen City meats.
The zombies in Cincinnati are gonna just go after all the hot dog vendors.
It's really easy to get away from the Cincinnati zombies because they have to boil those noodles before they can eat you. That
They're
gives
not
you
interested.
A good 8 to 12 minutes of escape time.
The zombie is about to take a bite out of your neck, and he's like, "Wait a minute, there's no spaghetti around here."
Oh, let me go boil the water, and then you just scurry away.
I'm pretty sure I will not stay in my home. I'm pretty sure I would join the crowd running down the street. I don't know if we're looking for a safe place, or if we're looking for water, if we're looking for food, or we're just trying to kill zombies. I don't know.
Either way, it sounds like a good time.
Either way, it doesn't seem like a pretty good deal. I mean, it just seems like it's just, you're done. But at least you're done, you're going to go out fighting. So.
All right, we got a time limit. Let me push forward. All right, Darlene.
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, Utah, you guys already have African American in Congress. Can't we just be satisfied? Why are you running for? Why
haven't you had enough?
Why are you running for
Haven't we
Congress?
given you
Darlene?
people enough? I've always been good to you people.
Did I not treat you with dignity and respect while under my custody?
Well, like they say, representation matters, right?
Yes.
Representation matters. So, no, the answer to that question is no. You have to have real representation, not just for the African Americans here in Utah, but actually for the people in the 4th district needs representation, and the current representative isn't representing. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
I see.
Yes.
So give us an example of, outside of the obvious ones. I mean, but as far as like what he's done for people in Utah or hasn't done, like where is the main deficiency there that you are focusing on?
everything. One of the things that he does is he's a MAGA person. He's right in line with the Trump MAGA line, and so that means that he engages in all of the culture wars, all of the conspiracy theories. When he ran his first election, he actually was on podcasts with QAnon. So he's in that camp, which is very dangerous actually for everybody. It's very dangerous for the country. He was part of the 147, or I believe, congressional representatives that voted to not certify the electoral votes from Pennsylvania. He was one of those. So I truly believe, and there are many people like myself that believe that our democracy, our American democracy, is in danger. And if we have this congressional representative in office, that he would vote to not protect our democracy. And that is very dangerous. When people say that we don't love our country and we hate America, one of the first things that I say is my ancestors helped build America. So I'm not going to sit here and say I hate my country when we and my people, my ancestry, I did my ancestry, I did my genealogy, help build this country. And I will help defend it. And even against someone who voted to undo American democracy. So when I say representation matters, this is part of what I am talking about. We have to understand that we are in a really trying time right now. When we let's look at history. I know that we have a lot of history buff on this podcast right now. That's one of your things. And when you look at history and people say, oh, I knew what I would have done in the 1940s Nazi Germany and how I would have defended the country and fought against the Nazis. Well, what you would have done then is what you're doing now. And if you're not defending the country right now, if you're not speaking out and against those who tried to overturn the 2020 election, then what you are doing now is what you would have done in 1940, Hitler Germany. So we have to take this very, very seriously. I hope everyone is watching the January 6th committee hearings and seeing how close we came. And still, we're not done yet. It is still ongoing. So we have to have people in there that's going to protect our country. And then we have to have people in there who are going to actually do the work to better this country for everyone,
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's sad because these, people forget that there were Nazi sympathizers in the United States, and a good many of them back then, right? So they just were they were quieter. There was no Twitter. Let's put it this way: there was no Twitter, right? So if there was Twitter and Facebook back then,
they'd have to use the churches or something. Oh, never mind.
Yep, they'd have to do that. But so I got one quick question for you about Utah. I've been to Salt Lake. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Is that the only city?
What the hell is going on with your stoplights there?
Oh, see, there is a problem. See how she didn't say nothing right away? She just laughed. She's not confused by the question at all.
I got to my first stoplight in Salt Lake City, and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. I felt like Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness, where he gets there, he's like, you go on red in this universe? I'm like, what the hell is happening here? They're like sideways and...
we have city planners and they plan out the stoplights. So I don't know exactly what you mean by what's
That's not true.
Stoplights. I mean,
objection, Your Honor. She does know what you're talking about. She knows exactly what you're talking about.
Maybe it's not the whole. I don't know. All I know is that where I was at, the stoplights were real funky, and they didn't look anything like normal stoplights in the rest of the country. So I don't know what those.
Well, okay, wait a minute. There's someone on this podcast who's in St. Louis, right?
I'm from St. Louis.
You're from St. Louis. Okay, I almost died in St. Louis because of your stoplights. Y'all have.
Oh no! Don't. ask me nothing else about Hillary's emails. He's talking about yo stoplights. leave my poor city alone. We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Y'all have stoplights like on the side of the street. Like you don't
look,
see it until you pass it.
We do not have Hunter Biden's laptop here, okay? Except that I promise you, this is not Hunter Biden's laptop, okay? All right, so policy question.
If this was Hunter Biden's hard drive from that laptop, the original one, I definitely wouldn't have it sitting here in a locked box.
So policy question. All right.
Yes.
So what would you say of the following is and this is the part that kind of irks me a little bit. So like, you know, the mainstream Democrats, they have their, you know, issues with a couple of things that like progressive wing has their pushes a little bit more. I personally look at these things as being very mainstream because they are very popular. A living wage, which I think $15 an hour minimum wage is actually too low, at least in most cases. So a living wage, Medicare for all, and money in politics. To me, those are really the three. Now you could call it single payer, Medicare for all, you know, UHC, whatever you want to call it. Which of those three would be the thing that you think is the most doable immediately as soon as you get in office on the in January of 2023?
The most doable?
Yeah, like getting them done right away.
None of them you can get done right away. The one that I think that is the most important, honestly, is the money in politics, because that dictates everything else. If you get money out of politics, you can actually work on decoupling healthcare from your employment. I think that needs to happen, and there are many ways in which we can get there. I personally believe, oh, beautiful baby. I personally believe that we can get to a place where we can put in a public option. I would love to have a public option as far as the ACA, which is what it should have had in the first place. And because we had, hi, sweetie, because we had, unfortunately, some Democratic senators that pushed against the public option, and they were going to veto, filibuster the ACA if they didn't take the public option out. I think one way to tackle the healthcare cost, that's one thing that the ACA did not do, and because to attack the cost of healthcare. The public option would do that. I think that's easier, and I think for everything else, I wish we could do something about the money in politics. The Citizens United decision was one of the most, one of the top three. Tremendous. It really hurts the average American voter when you say that money is speech, and that gives more power and weight to the people with more money. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, I mean, if you follow him on Twitter or any social media, he just really lays it out about how the Supreme Court is bought and paid for by the Federalist Society and dark money, and why a lot of these things are happening. I mean, no one other than Katie Porter, no one does a better job than Senator Whitehouse does on really just speaking truth to power about money in politics and how that is controlling a lot of our policy decisions, and it's driving a lot of our policy decisions. Like right now, we have people in Congress, on the House of Representatives like Burgess Owens, and even on the Senate side, who are elected to do nothing. They are elected to literally sit there and do nothing. And they get reelected they're not passing any bills. They're not actually trying to do anything for the actual district, but they are run on what Democrats have passed, like the American Recovery Act and the money that came out of that, and all of that money that went into infrastructure projects. They'll run on that, but none of them actually voted for it. And they'll get credit for it, but none of them actually voted for it. They're doing absolutely nothing substantive to actually help the constituents, but they keep getting them back in over and over to sit there and basically do nothing. and they collect money from special interest groups, from any type of interest group, and they get millions of dollars to do nothing or to just push whatever the special interest is. So we have got to stop. We got to end this. We have got to address the money in politics. Once we do that, then we can talk about, okay, what can we do about big pharma, pharmaceutical, lowering the price of prescription? What can we do about the healthcare cost? What can we do about keeping costs of hospital stays and all that stuff? What can we do about that? What can we actually do to help the 350 million Americans in this country? And we can't do anything as long as we are controlled by big money. And that is the reality of our political system right now. And the Supreme Court solidified that with the Citizens United decision. So we have to go there. And then, so the third one.
That's a big first hill.
It's big. And
it's real big.
To address it, you have to address money in politics. I mean, that's it, really. Like right now, what's happening all over the country, what people are talking about, all the mass shootings. I mean, every weekend, every week, we're killing each other with mass shootings, with AR-15s, assault rifles, high-capacity magazines. We're killing each other with these guns and weapons of war that have no place on our streets. And we're not designed for that. We're not designed to kill rodents. I mean, let's be serious about this.
I don't know. I got some big rats.
Yeah, it was designed to kill.
You know what I think? You know what I think? I think your place is so poor. You're afraid to let me see.
They were designed to kill as many human beings as quickly.
Rats, no.
And that's
terms of service.
Yeah, exactly. And overwhelmingly, Americans say, let's get these guns, these weapons of war off the street. Let's have comprehensive background checks. Overwhelmingly. But the Senate and the House won't do anything. The Senate, especially the House, did pass something, but it won't get past the Senate. Even though the majority of Americans say, and even responsible gun owners say, we approve of this. We actually want this. But because these senators and these legislators are controlled by the money that's coming from the NRA, which is a gun manufacturer, it's a lobby for gun manufacturers. They're not out there representing.
Yeah, and your senator takes more from them than anyone.
Yes. And there was some controversy around all this money, and it's like, oh, but it was for 2008. Like, okay, yeah, but it's still, there was a little bit of controversy about that somebody did some fact checking. So, and I haven't actually dove into it myself, but if you look at especially on the Republican side, but they're not the only ones, who gets money from a gun lobbyist who's actually doing the work for gun manufacturers. That means people who make guns, who want to make money when you buy guns. That's who they represent. They are not representing moms and dads who want to defend their homes. They're not actually representing you. They're representing the gun manufacturers who makes money, a lot of it, when you buy those guns. And then what's his name? LaPierre? He goes on a spending spree. And
Wayne LaPierre.
Wayne LaPierre. Yeah. And they talked about how much money he has spent and has just gone through. That's what they're doing. And so we have to, as Americans, as voters, we have to look at all of this and see who has our best interest, who's really working for us, or really just don't care. So, and that's when we have to just say, you know what, we've had enough. We have to get someone in there who's actually going to do the work for us and not against us.
So how are you, and everything you said is perfect. I also realize that you probably have a relatively large geography. So like, how are you doing? Like, how are you funding your campaign? I mean, are you like Xing out particular industries like pharma or something like that? Or how are you managing that?
Well, right now we're just a grassroots people-led campaign. We're just collecting donations from constituents, call up my cousin. Hey, cuz, how you doing?
You calling me for money again?
you send me some money. We're doing a social media campaign. We're making call time. We're people power campaign. We're grassroots. That's what we're doing, and we're actually using our money very smartly. We're running a social media campaign as we get closer to the election and people start paying attention, which I wish people would pay attention more. People
have been conditioned to be apathetic.
Yeah,
people have been conditioned to be apathetic. It's that. Oh, why do anything? It's two wings on the same bird. It's two sides of the same coin. AKA, if you are non-conservative, this is what we push to keep you from voting. Because on the GOP side, on the conservative side, all they talk about is voting and how to get people that may not vote GOP not to vote. And one of the bigger things, even I feel almost even bigger than all of the measures, that voter restriction measures they've introduced, is the apathy campaign that they run every election cycle. You hear it spark up every election cycle. I feel like it's bots and not actual Black people and actual Latino people or actual elderly people. I feel like they're bots. This is so-and-so Joe Schmo, and why even vote anyway?
Right.
Two sides of the same bird. They're both on the same team. They're doing the same thing. One of them's just being more overt, but they're both trying to kill you. So why vote anyway?
Just stay home.
The stupidest thing I've heard.
I'm having a stream all day. On the
conservative side, get out and vote. Your vote is your voice. Vote, 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 vote. Please go and vote.
Right. Yeah, and
we'll have Jasper pick you up in the truck if you ain't got no car.
And that's the thing that people get really irritated when we talk about stuff like this, because it's they'll say to us, we'll say, well, why are you criticizing the Democratic Party, blah, blah, blah. Look, the fact of the matter is a lot of them take the same donor money from the same people as the Republicans do. That's a fact. We know that that's true, right? There's no dispute about that. And grassroots campaigns they either have to be if we can't get rid of it, that has to be the way that we push this cycle, right? Because the more people we can get in who aren't beholden to corporations are going to be more beholden to the people. And I think it makes sense to ask you this next question. So I was looking at, and I'm going to pull the exact numbers up here because I didn't memorize them. 2020,
professional.
Burgess Owens won with 47.7% of the vote over Ben McAdams, who is the incumbent. So this district you're running in was Democrat, and Burgess Owens only won it by exactly 1%, about 3,600 votes. There was a United Utah Party, which picked up 8,000 votes, which could have been the difference there. So they are a third way party. I'd never heard of them before, but I did some research on them, and I know a lot about third way, which basically means it's fiscally conservative, but socially Democrat. And though I'm not sure that it's socially Democrat. Yeah, socially liberal. But what can you do to penetrate that eighth? Because this is a very winnable district, unless it's been redrawn that I don't know about.
It has. It's still winnable. It's still winnable, but it's harder. It's harder. They gerrymandered this district.
Oh, you don't say.
Incredibly. It is.
What?
Oh, I mean, so much so that he had a primary. Burgess Owens had a primary. Another Republican, and he didn't even bother to show up for a debate. Didn't even bother. If you're not talking to your own voters, if you just show up for a parade and let people wear your Super Bowl ring, which is what he does, because I don't have to work at this because they gerrymandered my district, and so I don't care. I don't have to talk to. He doesn't meet with any of the state legislators that's on the Democratic side. He didn't show up for any other debates. He didn't show up for any other forums. He just show up for a parade, let people wear his Super Bowl ring, and that somehow is representation. And we have to make people understand that if he's not going to show up to talk to you during a debate, during a forum, then he's not representing you. He doesn't actually care what you have to say. He's not talking to you. He's not listening to you. He didn't even think enough to show up. And they should feel and they should be insulted. The Republicans should be insulted that he didn't even bother to show up.
The people he needed are the people who gave him that money. And that's who he needs to listen to. And that's who he needs to talk to. And that's who he needs to placate. Why play to the constituency when 95% of your millions came from the corporations?
Yes.
Who are you beholden to then? And that's why the money has to be removed from politics, because the constituency, the actual people that go out and vote, guess what? They're not going to be represented. No. You know, if I need $5 million to win a campaign and I get $4.75 million from various corporations, who do you think I'm going to kowtow to? Who do you think I'm going to work for? Because if I got 4.75 of the 5, the people that gave the other 250,000, I probably could have won without their 250,000 because I had the 4.75 from these people. 85%. We have to get that out of there.
85% of his money is outside money. 85%. So that means he's not beholden to his constituents. He's not listening to his constituents. He's not showing up to talk to his constituents. He'll let you wear a Super Bowl ring. That's not representation.
Well, that's because those
show.
people aren't his constituency.
You should just let people hold your shot put championship.
I have a medal. I actually have a medal.
Let people wear the medal.
Yeah, let them wear my medal. Yeah.
Hey, you look. Here's the thing. You won that by yourself. He was a backup safety. How you like me now? Okay, but but you're exactly right. Look, it's we'll give you a chance to in a minute here to tell people how they can find your campaign. But like, can you kind of go over like what did they do as far as like what do you have any numbers on where you're at right now as far as polling, or what they did with the district? And secondary question before you answer that, I believe you were, when I looked at your background, you were involved with the DNC in some capacity. Is that correct?
Yes.
So generally, I'm not a fan of the DNC. I will tell you that. But seeing as you were on the DNC, maybe the DNC in Utah there is being a little bit more helpful. I don't know. Can you tell us about that as well? Because, it seems that the barometer with the candidates we have on every other week seems to be like that the DNC is kind of like non-existent in a lot of these races. So how is yours differing?
Well, I am the national committee woman for Utah. So that's my involvement with the DNC I am the national committee woman. And so I am directly involved. I got to introduce our chairman, Jamie Harrison. Actually, he was here last week, 2 weeks ago. And I got to introduce him. Nice guy, very powerful speaker. He's good. The DNC does have a record of not doing the 50-state strategy that was made popular by Dean Howard Dean. There you go. Yeah, I know, right? But Jamie Harrison has committed to doing that and helping candidates. A lot of the money will help a lot of our local races. Some money will go for our congressional district, but a lot of the money will go for our local races. And a lot of that is due to the gerrymandering and making sure that we put the money in the local district to build that up. And honestly, that's important. And I want to speak to that a little bit, because what happened in 2020, when we had Senator Mike Lee, especially calling state, local Republicans, not necessarily in Utah, because Utah voted red. But when you had the closer races, like in Georgia and Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, what they were trying to do, and I'm sure you're familiar with the 1877 compromise, is push the election back to the state. And by doing that, they could have overturned the election. So it is very important that people understand, first of all, the Constitution and how all of this works.
Yeah,
And
and just real quick, for those who don't know what the 1877 compromise is, that is literally what ended Reconstruction. But go ahead.
Yeah, it ended Reconstruction and it started 87 years of Jim Crow in the South, because they literally threw Black citizens of this country under the bus with this 1877 compromise. And what Senator Mike Lee was doing, and many of the Republicans trying to push the election back to the state before they certified the election, was the same scenario. And so when people say my vote don't matter and my vote doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if I know who my local representatives are, it absolutely matters. And this is the reason why it matters, because there are more GOP-led states than there are Democratic-led states. And with that being the case, when 2024 roll around, presidential election, and especially with the Supreme Court deciding whatever it is they're going to decide, they took that case that's going to change the way that we do elections most likely in their next term. This is going to become even more important as to whether or not we're going to have an American Democratic Republic going forward. We're in a very precarious moment in this country, and I cannot stress enough to everyone who can hear me on your podcast, you gotta vote. If you've never cast a ballot before in your life, you gotta vote in this upcoming midterm. Democrats are notorious for whatever reason for tuning out during the midterms, and which is how the Republicans get power during the midterms, because we just check out. We got to change that pattern, and we got to vote in every single election, up and down the ballot. The local elections, school board, oh my gosh, I mean the school board, they are coming after the school board. We got to research our school board people and make sure that our children, our future, actually get educated. I mean, look at what DeSantis is doing in Florida. That is full on fascism. Yeah. You have to call it for what it is. So I'm hoping that we can inspire people to vote, but also just, even if you're not inspired, vote anyway.
In case someone from Utah pulls this up who might be on the right wing side of things and listens to the narrative about CRT, could you give them your opinion on like the entire just the overarching CRT conversation and why it's advertised as this evil monster under the bed that's going to get us at night. Education for the people, please.
Well, we all know that there was disinformation around CRT, aka critical race theory, aka CRT. What it was and what it is, it looks at the racism codified into law. That's all CRT is. That's all it is. So if you look at Brown v. Board of Education, for example, the Supreme Court decision, 1954, Brown v. Board of Education, that desegregated schools in America. Why so is it in 2022 or 2020 are schools more segregated, not less segregated, more segregated than it was 50 years ago? So what critical race theorists would do, and critical race theorists are legal scholars. There are people who are trained to look at data. They form a theory. There's a hypothesis, and they have to prove that theory through data. And they'll collect the data. They'll go out, they'll research to prove or disprove whether or not schools are still or more segregated than they were before Brown v. Board of Education. That's critical race theory. That's it. What the backlash all came about after the murder of George Floyd is that we had this multicultural, multi-generational uproar that Black people were telling the truth about their interaction with police officers, about their interaction with law enforcement. We literally watch a man die. We watched a man die under someone's knee. And nothing like that had happened since they walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965. And that was the beginning of the television era. That's when people said, oh my God, they telling the truth about their interactions with law enforcement in the South.
Well, nothing like that had happened that was caught the entire thing on tape. And I think is what you mean, because obviously we had tape of Philando Castile and Michael Brown and all these as well, but there was enough plausible deniability for the people who don't want to believe it to say, well, I want to see 5 minutes before that. He must have done something, why the interaction, etc. But with George Floyd, we saw literally and during the trial, you saw the cameras from across the street. You saw everything. All the guy did was try to pull away for a second or two, and then that was it. You had the entire thing on tape. Even Rodney King, really all you had was the beating, right? And that was on video cassette back then, and that was obviously, way more, I would say way more brutal than what happened to George Floyd, right? As far as just the vigor and the anger of those cops. But that caused a little bit of a backlash for about, I don't know, 6 months. And then this one turns out. And I will say that the way that you characterize that is one of the better snapshot descriptions of what CRT is, because it's what I think people do a lot is they think talking about anything in the civil rights movement, except for the 2 or 3 cherry-picked sayings of Martin Luther King and maybe Brown versus Board of Education, and you can talk about those things, but anything outside of that has to do with race,
content of my character,
not
by the color of my skin.
But anything outside of that quote basically is CRT.
Yes.
They
are against diversity, equity, and inclusion training. That's what it is. That's what to them is CRT, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's social justice. It's empathy for social justice. That's CRT for them, which is not CRT, as we know.
I think it's real. I think it's real weird how I know more about German war tactics and Japanese war tactics than I ever learned about Tulsa.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They'll teach us. So they made me Franz Duke Ferdinand for World War One, and then you're like I know all these historical figures. Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
That's correct.
Yes, there you go. So I know all this other random shit for all these other countries, but Black Wall Street just never made it. Didn't make the cut. It just didn't happen. You don't teach that. That should be taught. But it's weird because history in schools now is, well, I mean, I've been out of school for a minute now, but it's weird where it cuts off. Because it doesn't come all the way up to present day. It stops. And where it stops is always very conveniently placed. And it's usually right after the Civil War. It just stops. Then your history classes are done. You don't need to learn any more history.
Also, where
and then the
North
North one
ends is pertinent as well, because it begins at slavery. They don't talk about everything before that.
So we're going to talk about
they don't talk about Mansa Musa and Shaka Zulu and other historical characters.
No, it starts when you have to think sugar cane from the Caribbean, slaves from Africa, and then profit in the Americas. And that's the slave trade.
Well, you also they'll talk about 1619, but they don't talk about 1565 in St. Augustine. So all of that have to be included in the entire story, because what happened to the free blacks that were in what is present day St. Augustine?
Hey, you gotta educate people on that. Okay, so go ahead and do that.
Exactly.
No, I'm saying right now, give them a synopsis right now. Let them know right now.
No. Seriously, as you're sitting,
the more
here,
you know.
The more
Darlene McDonald.
So they actually start with 1619. 1619 is when they landed in Virginia, but there were blacks from Africa that were already brought here by the Spaniards in Florida, present-day Florida, present-day St. Augustine. And when they went to war with the British, they actually fled and went to Cuba, and that's how you end up with Africans in Cuba. So that is a whole connection between the Blacks in America and Cuba as well.
But they don't count that because it was technically not America.
That's communist.
You know, it was the dirty Spaniards, right?
It was
So,
proto communism.
What's funny also is a lot of Cubans won't call themselves black.
Oh no.
Which is come on now, quit playing. That's like Cubans and Dominicans. What you doing? Come on, quit playing.
Boricuas too. Y'all act like y'all not
Puerto
us.
Ricans too. Yep.
Y'all act like y'all not us. Quit playing.
You already know.
Y'all the light skinned cousins with the good hair.
Y'all from Louisiana South.
Right.
them Creoles.
Y'all from the south side.
All right, Darlene. So we appreciate it. You've been fantastic. I know you got a roll. Can you tell people? Well, first of all, we'd love to have you back. We have a new show starting with Lauren Hubbard on the network. Lauren was running in Fresno. He's starting a show on Sundays. Maybe we can get you back closer to the election to talk with Lauren in more of a long form setting. We'd love to do that. So, but in the meantime, tell the people where they can find you, how they can donate to your campaign. Give everybody all your socials and your websites.
All right. You can find me at Darlene.
Yeah, give us your social security number.
Please don't.
Click here to clear up this problem with your account.
Hi, I am customer service. Click link.
Your password has been reset.
Yeah. No, it doesn't say that. It says reset has been password on account your.
And all the T's are 7s, and like the E's are 3s.
I am a Nigerian prince from Wakanda.
See, I knew you was gonna bring it back to me and my Nigerian brethren. You leave us out of this.
Hey, they don't.
Just because y'all stupid enough to keep falling for that shit.
They don't
mean he can't have a come up.
Hey, it ain't my fault they don't claim you.
Yeah. Let me in, y'all. I can do the Yoruba dances. I've been studying them on YouTube. Let me in.
Anyway, Darlene, before we get you unelected,
there's a big Nigerian presence in Utah 4th district.
I have some very good Nigerian friends here. Actually, they're really cool.
See, I told you. Nigerians are everywhere, bro. We taking over.
Well, how to find me is actually very easy. It's a call to action. Twitter, vote Darlene. Facebook, vote Darlene. Website, vote Darlene. Instagram, vote Darlene.
What's on your Instagram channel?
And TikTok, Darlene 261941.3.
TikTok, vote Darlene. Call to action, vote Darlene. That is how you can find me. We're doing a Cradle to the Grave platform actually right now, especially with this latest Supreme Court decision of with women reproductive rights. And my whole big thing right now is to talk about if you really want to have a pro-life movement, it must be from the cradle to the grave. And if it's not from the cradle to the grave, then it is not pro-life. And that is making sure that women have access to contraceptive if they don't even want to be a mom, all the way to birth, expanded use with doulas, making sure moms have support during postpartum time as well, making sure that we have work for paid family leave. We're going through all of it. You talked about pay equity and making sure that we get rid of the wage pay gap. Yeah. That's another thing that's part of our Cradle to the Grave platform. So we're rolling that out. And
is universal pre-K in there?
I'm focusing actually on adult education. A lot of people focus on, and it's great to work on pre-K, but we have a gap with our adult education because we have people who fall for the cracks, and adult education does not get any funding.
That's true.
So, yeah, so I'm working mostly with trying to bring attention and awareness to adults that fall through the cracks, and especially if there is at least one adult in a household, it increases the probability that the children will also not graduate high school. And we know that there is a connection with that and poverty. So I'm really focused on adult education and making sure that we fund and provide funding for adult education as much as we do for secondary education. So that's what I'm focusing on.
Hey, you know what? The Republicans should love funding the adult education because, you know, they say that if you get pregnant and you're 17, you should just, you know, you were irresponsible. You should drop out of school. But then they tell you, well, you should work harder. You should go back to school. So they should love that program, you would think.
They
Yep.
should. Yes.
But anyway,
And that's why we're going to approach it with my campaign and making sure we do something about that wage gap as well, and eliminating that. So cradle to the grave. I know
Awesome.
that's from Tupac too, but you know.
don't hurt. It don't hurt. Well, you've been delightful.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on and spreading the word about your candidacy. And we are rooting for you. We're going to be voting twice.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're Democrats,
No.
so we vote multiple times in multiple states, right? I mean,
I'm gonna mail in vote, then I'm gonna drive out and vote in person. Okay.
You
Well,
already
and I'm voting online like I do for American Idol. You can vote
Right.
7 times, right?
I'm not dialing Idol 003 for Darlene. Y'all forgot about her hot dog comments. I did not.
That's right.
I hold grudges. I don't drop them.
Mikey's middle name is Petty Pendergrass. So
She can't come up in here disrespecting.
He's like a little Thanos. All right, Darlene. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Darlene.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mikey, before we head off on this segment of the show,
Uh-huh.
what can the people do if they want to support us in addition to the candidates?
The people.
The people.
The people. So, let me get my ransom picture out here. I hate to do this, but
Darlene.
it works.
They is treating us good and shit.
So this little monstrosity right over Schma. This is Zero. The Wonder Pup. He's my co-producer. And I will throw all of his toys away if you guys don't go to patreon.com/digonamerica and give us $100 million. That is the ransom
Right.
for this little pup's toys.